Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, welcome to Celtics Talk Radio live video chat uh, number 2. This is live post-game chat that actually you're going to watch this via YouTube. And for the next chat, we are going to try to make it work, live, real live. And I'm Igor, and Danny is with me, of course. And tonight, on the Christmas Eve, our beloved Boston Celtics have defeated the New York Knicks 119 and 112. So tonight we are going to recap actually the 3 games and one loss and 2 wins against Oklahoma City Thunder. Between our 2 shows, actually between radio show 150 seconds and the live video chat right now, the Celtics have played 3 games and they went 2-0 and 1. The first game that we are going to recap is win against New York Knicks in TD Garden tonight, 119-114, and 27 points. Thomas, Marcus Smart, 7 assists, Al Horford, 7 rebounds. Then Friday we lost from Oklahoma City Thunder 112-117 in TD Garden, and we defeated Pacers in Indianapolis Bankers Life Fieldhouse Center 109-102. 28 points Thomas, 9 assists Thomas, 11 points Al Horford. And the next show will be first, and in the next show we will be recapping the 3 games that are Memphis Grizzlies Tuesday, 7:30 p.m., Cleveland Cavaliers Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and finally Friday, Miami Heat. This will be all recapped on the radio show, the first. And right now in this live video chat, you're going to hear the recaps of the 3 games. Knicks win, Thunder loss, and Pacers win. And you're going to hear additional material, and that is actually the material about salary cap. And salary cap attached to the Celtics, and you will hear Ryan Bernardoni's great material alongside with our breakdown of upcoming salary cap that is going to influence the destiny of your Boston Celtics in the next 6-7 years, as long as it is working, this collecting bargaining agreement. And right now, Danny, I want to say some stuff. About best pair in players' estimated rating in 4 quarters overtime this season. Isaiah Thomas 42.5, Russell Westbrook 40.4, and DeRozan 32.9. So we were witnesses of the best 2 players in the 4th quarter this season, Russell Westbrook and Isaiah Thomas, against each other. Isaiah Thomas last 3 games. Right now, tonight 27 points, and before that 34 points, 10 assists, 28 points, 9 assists, and before that 44 points, 6 assists, historical game. Isaiah Thomas is now average 27 points per game this season, and he scored 27 points tonight too. No Celtics player has done that since Larry Bird. Larry Bird last time 29.9 points per game average in 1987-1988 season when Detroit Pistons were champs. Isaiah Thomas last 5 games since returning from injury. 27 points. Last 5 games, no calculating the Knicks. 31 points per game, 51.6 field goal percentage, 93.2 free throw percentage, and that was pretty impressive stretch because last 6 games we have 6 games in 9 nights and strong opponents, all 50% and better opponents, and 6 games, 9 nights, and 1-5 record. And the last information from me for this opening intro: Boston Celtics last 16 years, Madison Square Garden, 24-11, 69.4%. In TD Garden, 406 wins and 251 losses, 61.8%. All others last 16 years. In Madison Square Gardens, all others 284 wins, 416 losses, or 40.6% in the last 16 years. So, Danny, can you tell me what are your impressions about that Knicks game and the last 3 games, loss from Thunder and a win against the win against the Pacers. And just to say, Boston are number 3, number 1 Cleveland 23-6, Toronto number 2 Eastern 21-8, Boston number 3 Eastern 18-13, 58%. Charlotte number 4, the same amount, 17-13, and actually they have 1 game less and they can tie with us on the position number 3. New York Knicks now I think 16-14, and Atlanta Hawks 15-15, Milwaukee 14-14, and Pacers 15-16. Boston Celtics are currently 4 games behind Toronto, and Toronto is our leading team at Atlantic Division. So, Danny, your impressions about tonight's game and the last 6 game stretch, let's say 5-1 wins in last 6 games in 9 nights.
Well, we all had to have a feeling that once we had to face the Thunder, that was probably going to be the only team we had a serious threat to lose to, because they got Russell Westbrook. This Celtics team has had major trouble facing the teams that have the superstar talent in the NBA. We all know Russell Westbrook is one of the top players in the NBA when it comes to the guard position, and so he gets the superstar treatment with the free throws. When it comes to this game in particular, though, he didn't get the free throws. It was just him making a bunch of threes from deep downtown to negate everything that Isaiah Thomas was doing from outside. And the Thunder actually zoned in on Isaiah Thomas to make it where other players were the ones that have to beat him, and it didn't work. But overall, people have got to look at what the Celtics have done the last few games and pretty much say that it's impressive. I said that once the Celtics got past that San Antonio game on the 14th, things were going to get a lot more easier because of the fact that the schedule was going to get easier. And so far, it's been that case. You've won 5 out of the last 6, beating the Hornets, the Miami Heat, the Memphis Grizzlies, the Pacers, and now New York, with 3, or actually 4 of those wins coming on the road. which is even more impressive because at some point you're going to start getting a nice long home stretch, and that is going to help you in this situation. The only team now, the rest of the way this year, that you probably got to look at and say is probably going to be a loss is probably against LeBron James and the Cavaliers on the 30th. But you got Memphis again on the 27th and the Miami Heat on the 30th. So this Celtics team is heading in the right direction. They've only lost 4 times this season when they've had the entire roster available to play. Today's game earlier this afternoon, Christmas Day against the New York Knicks, the Carmelo and them were, really making a statement to start that game. The Celtics started off cold, and sure enough, the three-pointers started to go down, and next thing you know, they went up by double figures. Unfortunately, they kind of fell too in love with the threes late in the game, and it ended up nearly costing them as Carmelo and Porzingis brought the Knicks back to tie it up with just over a minute left. But Marcus Smart, showing that he has ice water in his veins, managed to hit that big three-pointer at the very end, which put the Celtics back up by 3 with under a minute left to go. And then Isaiah Thomas ended the rest of the game with the free throws down the stretch. Avery Bradley with that big steal off Carmelo Anthony. I don't know what made Carmelo think that it's best to go at it one-on-one with Avery, knowing Avery has shut down some of the top talent in the NBA, like Dwayne Wade. He's kind of done it to Stephen Curry and a few others so far. So if there's anybody you don't want defending you, it's Avery Bradley in this situation, and hopefully Carmelo Anthony realizes that now. So you got to be impressed with what the Celtics team has done. Losing only to OKC over your last 6 games, that shows. And in this situation, you only lost by 5 points, and you had a chance to win that game. If you manage to actually win 2 of your last 3 for the rest of the month, that shows you're heading in the right direction, and this team will deserve a few players in the All-Star break. Maybe Isaiah Thomas and even Avery Bradley. And who knows, Al Horford might just deserve to go with the way he's going, because he may not be getting the job done offensively, but he's certainly doing it on the defensive end. He had that big block on Porzingis earlier today that pretty much changed the tune of the game, as the Knicks were kind of getting it in the groove, and they nearly took the lead. If it wasn't for that, they might have taken the lead.
Danny, we must say 2 things. First, to say Merry Christmas to all Celtics fans and NBA fans in general that are listening to us. Watching us right now. And we must please to our dear watchers, viewers and listeners of the Celtics Talk Radio that are watching this very chat. We must wish Merry Christmas and all the best, and to all people that are celebrating, all the best to them personally and to their families. This is first thing. And the second thing, personally, I want to say rest in peace to George Michael. The world tonight lost one of iconic pop stars. And when you remember that we lost David Bowie and Prince in 2016, this very year was really not good for the singers and the culture and the pop and rock stars and iconic stars. And so I want to say Merry Christmas to all the fans and all the best. And second thing, rest in peace for the George Michael. And do you want to say something about that?
It was a pretty nice Christmas out here. We had a couple of 2 of my friends ended up joining us instead of being with their families today, which is this is the second year that one of those friends has decided to be with my family. But a Merry Christmas to the Celtic fans out there. It's been another glorious year for us here in Boston with the Boston sports teams. Ended up getting a nice David Ortiz jersey with the authentic patch that says final season. So that was pretty crazy, knowing that all those Red Sox fans were trying to fight over those jerseys earlier this summer. So that was pretty nice to get that. But it's been a nice year, and of course we have the Super Bowl in just a couple months, and the Patriots just might be going back after all of this, So it's been a nice year, and hopefully the Celtics might be going on a nice long postseason run, Igor. So let's enjoy ourselves over the next few months, because it's going to be a great winter.
Yes, and of course, again, we must try to figure it out. We will do more those live chats, I hope, in the future, if we solve technical problems. But we are hoping for the great playoff run, like you said, and we wish all our listeners of the Celtics Talk Radio, all our members of the page, and all Boston Celtics fans and NBA fans in general that are watching this YouTube video that we are going to upload from just curiosity, or just they want to learn something, to find out something new. We wish, and for those that are celebrating Christmas on this very day, we want all the best to our fans, and I mean their family. Now, before we start recapping the Knicks game, tell me, Danny, I listened. I mean, I read last night the tweet from Bobby Mannix that is doing live post-game shows of Celtics Radio, and he said, I cannot believe that I have to defend Isaiah Thomas online. And this same person, my Twitter follower, NBA blogger, he said that the people are not appreciate Al Horford and what he's doing for the Celtics and for the franchise yet. I have the chat with one of my friends, which is the journalist from Balkans region. I mean, from other country, but he's from Europe. He is also a Boston Celtics fan, and he is basketball journalist of his country. And he is also thinking that first, I don't know, he said, if Al Horford is deserving that kind of money. And I try to assure him that Al Horford is worth this money, and Al Horford is ideal for the first maximum guy in Boston Celtics jersey. Now we are searching for the second center, and also he was asking me, and is there any chance that Boston Celtics are going to get DeMarcus Cousins? We are going to try to talk a little about that later, because I have what Danny Ainge said about DeMarcus Cousins and his latest incidents or bullcrap that he's doing to him, to his coach, to his teammates, to the Kings franchise, and with all the problems that he's causing on the court, outside of the court. I mean, like I said on the show, I really don't want that kind of player in Boston Celtics jersey. I don't want Norris Noel. I don't want Al Horford. I don't want those kinds of players. Now, I can see Okafor help on the long run, the Celtics, but I cannot see Okafor, J.K. Okafor from, for example, from Philadelphia, helping the Celtics in the short term. It means this season. And I really don't want Danny Ainge to make any kind of stupid trade. And luckily for you and me and all the true Celtics fans, I really don't think that he is such a general manager that will do the stupid move in this kind of situations. And if I'm correct, the starting lineup that is healthy is something like 12-4 right now. Maybe I am mistaken. Maybe it's 13-4, but I think it's 12-4 with starting lineup with Amir Johnson healthy and playing. That starting lineup is 12-4. Pardon, we lost from Thunder. So I really don't want Danny Ainge to make any kind of stupid moves. And if he can find this transcendent player that he's talking, and it is not DeMarcus Cousins, I mean, he will pull the trigger. And Danny Ainge said himself, we have audio, we will play it at our next episode, part number 2. We played Danny Ainge in episode 152nd, and he said that he's under pressure. He's putting himself under pressure because he wants to find that transcendent player that is going to lift the franchise up, you know. But anyway, I don't want him to make any kind of stupid moves. I would be okay if the Celtics stand pat and trade for backup center. We talked in the last live chat about eventual backup centers. And to conclude this, my story, Danny, my question to you is, why in the world Celtics fans are trashing Isaiah Thomas and Al Horford? Why they are not appreciated Al Horford? I'm 100% happy because we brought Al Horford and not DeMarcus Cousins, for example. And I'm sure that Al Horford is perfect for the first maximum guy. We are searching for the second maximum guy, the guy who will take 32 million and more salary. And I think the Celtics will be good going forward. Now, why the Celtics fans are overreacting and trashing Isaiah Thomas and Al Horford and the other players, especially Smart, after every loss? For example, after Thunder loss. It's beyond my ability of comprehension. What about you then?
Well, unfortunately, when it comes to those guys, they look at them and they say, if you're going to get the maximum dollars, you got to be putting up the max, points. You got to be putting up the points compared to Carmelo Anthony. You got to be scoring like LeBron James, Kevin Durant, players like that, in order to basically get them to basically give you the respect that you deserve and basically say you were worth it. These fans forget. A guy like DeMarcus Cousins, for example, gets the points he gets because he's the only legit talent on that Sacramento Kings, roster, for example. Let's just say. Yeah, he's got a couple other guys, but a majority of the plays go through his hands. If you have a team where there's only one legit player and the ball goes through his hands only, that's what's going to end up happening. Think about it. It was like that many years ago when LeBron was in Cleveland in his first stint and the ball went through his hands, his hands 90% of the plays, and so he was scoring 40 and 50 points a night. Here in Boston, it's a totally different story right now. You got Isaiah Thomas, who's the top dog. You got Al Horford. But after that, you also have Avery Bradley, who's a legit player. You have Jay Crowder. and you also have Marcus Smart and Kelly Olynyk who are capable of putting up some decent nights on this team. This team is a team that has to move the ball in order to actually get their open shots, because Isaiah Thomas is the only one capable of having the moves where he can dribble, penetrate, and get his own shot. Nobody else on this team can really do what they need to do to actually attack and get their own shot on their own. Everybody else needs help to get the shot they need by somebody either pick and roll or, attacking the rim and kicking back out to somebody wide open. Everybody else needs some sort of help, which is why this team has one of the highest assist rates in the NBA, and people seem to forget that, which is why people like us, Igor, people who actually look at the stats and focus on those things, actually give these players credit and have said it from the beginning. We were not going to overreact to the way this team's record was the moment Al Horford went down, Jay Crowder went down, Isaiah Thomas went down, Marcus Smart, they all went down. We said until this team got all their players back, that was when we will actually start looking and basically giving this team a grade of some sort, because until those guys came back, you really couldn't give this team any sort of grade, because it's got only 7 players who are really legit. Any other person on this earth that wants to go the route of basically giving this team an F, let's say, right now, despite the fact that they've had injuries, is somebody basically who was expecting this team to have something better regardless of injuries. Tell me, can you say the Cavaliers basically would get an F right now if they had the same record but didn't have LeBron in all of them? You gotta go the route basically of giving the team a grade based on what they've had, the pieces. I would basically say it like that. If the Cavaliers didn't have LeBron in them, they'd be right down at the bottom of the league. If Irving, Love, and LeBron basically weren't able to play. Now there's no J.R. Smith for that team. What you gonna do? If you lose your top players, there's nothing you can do. It's the rest of the bench that's gotta play, and you're gonna suffer. And that's what happened to the Celtics to start the season. And people just don't want to give them credit because they're looking basically at the money. You get max money, you got to put up like the max players, the superstars of this league. But if they forget, you don't get the superstar, treatment as well. LeBron attacks the rim, you put your pinky on LeBron and he's automatically going to get a foul call. Al Horford, Isaiah Thomas, well, not so much Isaiah Thomas, but Al Horford, Avery Bradley, Jay Crowder, they got to be literally attacked and hit with a 2x4 in their face in order to actually get a foul call at times. Look at Marcus Smart today. He got busted wide open, started bleeding from the mouth in order to actually get an offensive foul call. That's something people got to remember. You look at Carmelo, you look at Durant, you look at any of those players. The type of fouls that those guys get are way more softer and easier to draw than the type of fouls that players who aren't superstars can get. And we know it's the truth. This is a superstar-driven league. The superstars get the benefits and all the foul calls, which is why their stats are so freaking high, which is why they get all the money. Forget the money. Forget the stats in this situation. A player like Al Horford shouldn't be having to be stressed out by the fans to try and put up the same type of, numbers that someone like a Draymond Green is putting up just because they're making the same cash in this situation. Draymond Green is going to get way more numbers because he's playing on a superstar-driven team.
Yeah.
So fans, give Al Horford the credit. The boy has come up big thus far since he's returned from his injury, along with Isaiah Thomas, and this team is in 3rd place, only a few games behind LeBron and the Cavs, and a few games behind the Toronto Raptors. And that's with all the injuries. You let LeBron and the Cavaliers suffer the injuries the way we did, or let Lowry and DeRozan suffer the injuries the way we did, this Celtics team could be right up there in 1st place.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not happy because like you said, due to the injuries, we let some games. Danny Ainge himself said we let some games slip that we should won, like Pelicans games, like Denver Nuggets game, 1 point loss in Houston, the loss in Oklahoma. I mean, we could win those kind of games, or the tied game number 1 with San Antonio Spurs, I think, in Boston. I mean, but we missed a lot of players, and because we missed a lot of players, we let some games slip away that we should win and could win. But to tell you the truth, considering when the record, like I said, I think it's, I must check, Danny, 12-3, 12-4, I think. But ladies and gentlemen, I will check it and I will correct myself during the video chat. When you consider that we are extremely positive record when this team is healthy starting lineup, when you consider that tonight the bench unit showed the strong game and the strong performance, I think that you Celtics fans should be really encouraged. For example, I will tell you one example, Danny, why the bench is important and why I think that this is pivotal. For example, tonight Golden State Warriors lost from Cleveland Cavaliers. I really think that, for example, the bench was the difference, and I really think that Golden State Warriors, if they don't straighten their bench, they will lose the title, because in the playoff run, one of the decisive factors are the bench players and the bench play. And you know, I don't think that Golden State Warriors have good bench guys, and I don't think that they have great center line. I mean, they lost Andrew Bogus, Maurice Spites, and I think that they are weaker at the center position right now. I mean, I'm giving kudos to their current centers, but I mean, they, in my opinion, have weaker bench than Cavaliers. That is when they are healthy. And this is one of small examples why the bench is important. Now, let's return to the Celtics. On tonight's game, when you look, and I am looking at our bench, and I'm comparing the bench's play. So, Jonas Jerebko, 2 points, 2 rebounds. Marcus Smart, 15 points, plus 17, 7 assists, 2 rebounds, monster performance. Jaylen Brown, 0, but he is also good. He has been also good bench player. Kelly Olynyk, alongside Marcus Smart, the key bench guy, 16 points and 2 assists and 2 rebounds, and Gerald Green, 8 points and 4 rebounds, and I mean 1 assist. And when you calculate bench points 41, and New York Knicks bench points 19. So practically this one of the keys of the game is bench points, and I am owning the listeners the points from the Knicks bench. Kyle O'Quinn, 6 points, Lance Thomas 3, Justin Holiday, the brother of Jrue Holiday, 7 points, and Minda Ugas Kuzminskas, 3 points. And that's why we should be encouraged with this good bench playing of the Celtics. And we should be encouraged that the Celtics are closing the game. I think that I spoke to Bobby Krivitsky, our friend that is appearing on the show. He said that wait a second. We are ranked number 1 in 4 quarters pair as a team, and we are second in the 4 quarters points per game in NBA right now. So we are number 1 in 4 quarters pair per game. This is player efficiency rating combined as a team in the last quarter, 4th quarter, and we are second all NBA in the 4 quarters points per game. And Isaiah Thomas is number 2 in points per game in the 4th quarter, and the only player that is ahead of him is Russell Westbrook. And I think that Danny, we should be encouraged with some of those numbers. What do you think about that? My conversation about the keys of the game and the bench playing and the strong quarter. I think we are plus 82 a couple of games ago in the 4th quarter. So I will find the picture and I will read it when you finish your conversation too with those informations.
Well, when it comes to the bench, you're right. The bench is a key, in any game. When you look at the Celtics, we have 2 key bench players overall that have to be there and have to put up some big performances every game in order for us to actually have a chance to win, which is Marcus Smart and Kelly Olynyk. If they don't get basically put up, then somebody else, whether it be Terry Rozier, Jaylen Brown, or Gerald Green, or Jonas Jerebko, has to basically get the job done. Today, for example, was Kelly Olynyk and Marcus Smart who got the job done, with Olynyk basically taking advantage of the no defense that the Carmelo Anthony and the Knicks like to play. So that's what got the Celtics the win tonight. Gerald Green even got a couple of big shots in there today, a couple of 3-pointers. But the bench is one of the situations that, when you look at some of the top teams, like let's say the Golden State Warriors, these teams pay so much money to their superstars because they're so worried about not letting those superstars go that they cost themselves the money when it comes to their bench. And so they got to worry about the bench players that come. Either A, those bench players got to basically kiss up to the Warriors and the other superstar teams and basically take pennies on the dollar in order to actually go and play for those teams. So basically, you help me get my ring, or at least help me have the best chance to get my ring. And in exchange, I'll basically take, what would usually be a $1.25 million contract for me. I'll take, $750,000 from you, or $500,000 from you in exchange. Or they basically got to go somewhere else and hope that they get their money, but know that they're not going to have a chance to win because those teams are standing in their way. It's kind of like the situation here in Boston. Look at Al Horford. Al Horford had to consider, does he stay in Atlanta and basically take the max money? Does he come to Boston and take the max money, which was a little bit less, but know that there might be a better chance to get another superstar to come to Boston? Or does he go somewhere else and hope that basically he takes way less and go join one of those superstar teams? Coming to Boston, he was hoping that Kevin Durant would come this way. And of course, Durant had the chance to come this way and opted to go to Golden State instead. But You look at Durant, he goes to Golden State. You got Curry, Thompson, and Green out there, and look at the rest of the roster. Guys basically who are taking way less than what they're worth on the market because they just wanted the chance to play with those four guys because they're looking at those four and saying those four will do all the dirty work and I can just get on the easy bus and basically get the ring in the end. Which is why technically LeBron and them winning today, I hate the Cavaliers because in my opinion they are going to prevent the Celtics from getting to the finals, and it's going to be like that for years to come as long as LeBron is there. But I enjoy the fact that they beat Durant and them because that proves to Durant you can go play with Curry, Thompson, and Green, but that is not going to guarantee you a damn thing as long as LeBron and the Cavaliers are in the Eastern Conference, because you're still going to have to beat them in order to actually get the ring. So, I'm fine with that, but that's the situation. You got a bunch of players who took less money to get on the easy train, easy bus, and look at those players are realizing that we've still got to get the job done, and we may not even get the ring, and yet we took way less money. Meanwhile, when it comes to the other situations you're talking about, when it comes to the points in the fourth quarter, the Celtics, the points they score, Isaiah Thomas is the reason for that. Today's game, look at what Brad Stevens did in that fourth quarter. Brad Stevens took Isaiah Thomas out in the third quarter. I think it was the last 5 minutes of the third quarter to let Isaiah Thomas rest up. He had Avery Bradley, Jay Crowder, Al Horford, Kelly Olynyk, and I think it was Gerald Green on the floor together for those 5 minutes of the third quarter. And those guys tried to keep the lead, and sure enough, they kept it right around 6 to 10 points, despite the fact that the Knicks had practically every member of their starting lineup still on the floor, except for Porzingis, if I'm correct, or Joakim Noah. One of those two was out. But the guys that Brad Stevens had on the floor managed to keep the lead at roughly 6 to 10 points all the way to the end of the fourth quarter. And then Brad Stevens threw Isaiah Thomas right back onto the floor to start the fourth quarter. I was telling my father that, watch, the Knicks are going to throw Carmelo Anthony right back onto the floor to start the fourth quarter. That would mean he's going to play practically the entire second half. He comes in to start the fourth quarter. He's completely exhausted. Isaiah Thomas is completely freshed up, and Isaiah Thomas starts taking over, and the lead goes right back up to double digits as Carmelo Anthony can't get the job done, and so the coach has no decision but to take him out and give him some time to rest up. So Brad Stevens was smarter than the coach from New York, because the coach from New York was hoping that Carmelo Anthony's batteries would be good enough to actually last the entire second half, and he realized that it wasn't. Not even Isaiah Thomas, who's smaller than Carmelo Anthony, has those type of batteries, and Brad Stevens, because of it, took advantage. So Brad Stevens was smart, at least in that situation, when it came to that. But Isaiah Thomas has been one of the top players in the NBA. I believe that he's the second best in the NBA this year. I think they said that on the game broadcast today. He's the second best behind Russell Westbrook when it comes to fourth quarter scoring.
Yeah, I just said it.
That right there in itself is basically telling you something. You know, Isaiah Thomas, if he doesn't make the All-Star team, that is a complete slap in the face. Your team's third in the Eastern Conference. You're the second best player in the NBA, ahead of LeBron, ahead of Carmelo, ahead of Lowry, ahead of DeRozan when it comes to the fourth quarter. And in this situation, you don't make the All-Star team. So Isaiah Thomas is the real reason why this Celtics team is where they are. So Isaiah Thomas is the reason for the Celtics being in that position when it comes to where they are for the fourth quarter scoring. But even with that, you've had Al Horford take over in fourth quarters at times. He did it the other night when Isaiah Thomas wasn't there. We've even seen him do it defensively, getting a couple of blocks. Marcus Smart hit a big shot tonight. Avery Bradley has done it. Crowder hit 3 threes tonight, one right after the other. So, it's a situation where this team, it's a group effort. But Isaiah Thomas is the engine, the little engine that could, Igor. He's the engine basically that runs the show in the fourth quarter. And as Tommy says, where in the world does this kid get it? Where in the world did this kid learn to play?
I agree, and I said it, maybe you didn't hear me, that Isaiah Thomas is let me find information again. I don't want to say information that is not true. Isaiah Thomas is number 1 in fourth quarter player estimated rating in the fourth quarter in all NBA, and he's second in fourth quarters points per game. Only player that is having more points in the fourth quarter ahead of Isaiah Thomas is Russell Westbrook. And when you talk about MVP rating, I have interesting Twitter debate and conversation, and I wanted to ask in the show, but I didn't have the chance on our last show. Danny, Tim Bontemps from Washington Post that is having his NBA show also, and columns NBA following of course Washington Wizards for Washington Post. He posted that he could see Isaiah Thomas left out of All-Star game. And I mean, John Karalis said that with the season, and I agreed with John, with the season that he's having right now, Isaiah Thomas, he cannot think that Isaiah Thomas can miss All-Star. Al Horford maybe, but I think that we will have 2 All-Stars, Al Horford and Isaiah Thomas hopefully, but I cannot think that Isaiah Thomas can miss the All-Star game, because it would be unjust, and I think that NBA would lose. And I think that all NBA fans will raise their voice against that. That guy, Tim, said on his Twitter that right now, quote, in the NBA, you have a lot of guards that are playing out of their minds. And he mentioned Isaiah Thomas and Toronto Raptors 2 guys, Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, then Jimmy Butler from Chicago, then Walker from Charlotte, Kemba Walker, and he mentioned John Wall from Washington Wizards. Now, Washington Wizards are not even in the playoff competition, and Chicago Bulls, let me see at the standings, Chicago Bulls are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, number 9. So let's say that right now, according to these standings, Chicago Bulls and Washington Wizards are not at the playoffs right now. Now, I said in my argument is, despite the changing in voting or something for the All-Star, you know better than me, Danny, I think that the players from the playoff teams should be on the All-Star ahead of the players that are at the teams that are not in the playoff position. For example, you can be in the bad team like John Wall is on the Washington Wizards and collect the points, rebounds, and PER pair. And I think that it is not the measurement for you to be at the All-Star, because if you're All-Star, it means that your team is at the playoffs and that you're making your teammates better. And I think that the guys like I can congratulate the way Charlotte Hornets and Kemba Walker are playing. For example, they're really playing great. I can congratulate Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan the way they are playing, and their team is second in the East and legit teams for the third straight years, number 2 behind the Cavs. And I can say congratulations for the Isaiah Thomas, but Boston is third at the East. But I cannot imagine Isaiah Thomas to be left out of the competition for the All-Star ahead of the players like Butler and Wall, and their teams are not in the playoffs. That team, for example, I asked him, why do you think that Wall should be selected, for example, ahead of Isaiah Thomas? I really don't. And he said it after Isaiah Thomas posted 44 points. I mean, I understand he is the homer and he is rooting for John Wall, of course. I mean, he's covering Washington Wizards, he's from Washington, and he's rooting from John Wall. And of course that he would like John Wall to be at the All-Star, right? And I said I can bet with you that John Wall will not be All-Star because Washington Wizards suck, and they will not be playoff team. And now he said, well, but John Wall is better player overall than Isaiah Thomas, and he has unfortunate to be in the bad organization. Well, I mean, even if we accept that this is the truth, and this is not, again, I don't think that John Wall deserves to be an All-Star, and he mentioned that John Wall has, I don't know, better shooting percentage than Isaiah Thomas or something. But listen, when you look at the advanced statistics that we said Isaiah Thomas is clutch, we said Isaiah Thomas is number 1, number 2 in player estimated rating and points per game in the fourth quarter. And I have information that I have been searching for, Danny, and that is Celtics scoring margin by quarters. This is from December 15, but it will help me to illustrate you and to get to my point. Number 1, first quarter we are minus 18, 19th NBA ranked. Second quarter minus 24, 23rd. Number 3 quarter minus 4, 15th. And the fourth quarter, Danny, plus 82. We were second prior to the Memphis Grizzlies game. Plus 82. Second in the NBA in the scoring margin. And Isaiah Thomas showed that he is the clutch. And again, when you take the player like John Wall, who is playing at the bad team, who is making the more touches and doing everything and collecting his statistics, pumping up his statistics, and having the bad team, and tell me, does it mean that he's better player than Isaiah Thomas, which is playing in the team that will have, we hope, at least 2 All-Stars, and playing at the team with a good bench and making his teammates better, carrying the team? Now, who is the better player? Isaiah Thomas, who is clutch in the fourth quarter, who is making his team win, or John Wall, who is pumping up his statistics, having problems with Bradley Beal and all the others? Who is deserving to be All-Star? John Wall? Come on. This is so bullshit that I cannot believe it. That it's said by some Washington Wizards fan, okay, but from the serious journalists, come on. The guy's posted 44 points. I mean, he's in company with Larry Bird, and we mentioned on the show that he entered the history, and the first player with 27 and more points after 1987, 1988, and Larry Bird again. I mean, what else should Isaiah Thomas do to receive appreciations from NBA writers? I'm really puzzled, and I'm really pissed because I'm seeing Isaiah Thomas is posting 44 points on 16 field goals attempts, which is madness efficiency. Only 4 players did it in the last 20 years, scored 44 and more points than he with 16 or less field goals attempts. And he's telling me that John Wall is better than him? Come on, man. I mean, this is, I understand that he's Homer, but I cannot imagine Isaiah Thomas to be left out of the NBA game. He deserves it, and Kyle Lowry deserves it, DeMar DeRozan deserves it. Why? Because they are on the good team, and they are playing really good, and also, who else is mentioned? Kemba Walker deserves it because those teams are playoff teams, and those players are carrying their teams. Their teams are top 4 at the East. And I mean, yeah, and Kyrie Irving is there too. And if you have to leave somebody, you will leave somebody from the selection that is not from the playoff team. That is just my opinion. What do you think about it?
We better call that guy's editor and ask him to have the guy's license removed. I don't know how someone basically who calls himself a professional writer can actually go the route of saying John Wall right now deserves to have an all-star bid, but Isaiah Thomas doesn't. You know, you take a look at what Isaiah Thomas has done this season. This boy has gone off for over 40 points at times in certain games. He has gone toe-to-toe with Russell Westbrook. He's gone toe-to-toe with several other superstar players. John Wall, you take a look at him. Has he gone close to any of the superstar players the Wizards have gone at it with and had his team in a position to win any of those legit games? You know, come on, man. The Celtics really are way better right now than the Wizards are going to ever be this season unless some sort of major injury takes place to the Celtics. Yeah, the Wizards the Wizards beat the Celtics a couple weeks ago, in November, but that was at a time where, again, the injuries were piling up on the Celtics. So we all know.
This is one of the bad losses. Thanks for reminding me. This is one of the games that we should won and let it slip away because of the injury. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, a 118-93 loss back on the 9th of November, which, again, the Celtics, when you look at that game, the Wizards had 34 points scored by Porter, but based on what I can recall, and I got the box score coming up here, you had no Al Horford, no Jay Crowder in that game. So that in itself should tell you something. You had, on the other side, Wall did play in that game, 19 points for him, while Isaiah Thomas scored 23. So look who won the battle in that game between the two of them. So that right there tells you something. At the same time, John Wall did it, roughly the same minutes. Isaiah Thomas did it in 35 minutes, Wall in 31. So that is one of the, bad losses this season. But as I said, that was a game where we didn't have the entire starting lineup, so I'm not going to stress it. Let's wait until the Wizards play us with the entire starting lineup until we actually react, for us to actually react to it. But come on, man. The Wizards, they ain't no way they're going to be anywhere near the Celtics towards the end of the season, let alone right now with the way things are going. And yet you want to say that he deserves to get an all-star bid over Isaiah Thomas? Please. The boy basically, because he's on a bad, because he's got the unfortunate situation of being on a bad, team, going to a bad, organization. Come on, man. Cry me a river for God's sake. You know how many players are in that same position and have managed to get their teams basically to go the route of at least being, a true, contender, at least contending for a playoff spot. It's not like this team is a 76ers type, organization. If you was telling me that they were running it like the 76ers, fine, I hear you and I give you credit. But this team is not like the Philadelphia 76ers where they waste all their draft picks and don't know a damn thing about what they're doing, from the owners all the way down to the general managers and the coaches. This team has done some good drafting, has gotten some good coaching, and has gotten some good players. It's just that the players haven't been able to win a damn thing with John Wall playing for them since he's joined them. If John Wall can't lead this team to victory, then why the heck would he deserve to get an all-star position? He's got to actually win something in order to actually get the right to go.
Yeah. And right now, let's focus. And again, he finished like John Wall will probably not be the all-star, but he's the better player than Isaiah Thomas. I said, yeah, sure, whatever. Anyway, this is the proof, like you said, that everybody should call himself a writer. But never mind. I understand he's a homer, and he's sorry that Washington Wizards are bad, and he's trying to justify that in some way.
That's where we give Brenda Facemeyer credit. At least Brenda Facemeyer is somebody that knows how to be how to tell the truth. She's a Washington Wizards fan, but she'll actually be honest.
Yeah. She's always saying that John Wall is worse than the Bill, and I can agree that with her. Anyway, let's face with the statistics from the game. Now we are going to the recap of the first game tonight. We have been talking about that game. New York Knicks 114, Celtics 119. Marcus Smart with big shoot and big game in the Celtics 119, 114 win against the New York Knicks. And Thomas 27 points, that's his average. And Olenek 16 points, Crowder 16 points, 6 rebounds, excellent game. Marcus Smart 15.7 assists, for 15.7 rebounds. The Celtics win 119, 114, and Melo 29 points, Porzingis 22, and Rose 25. The Celtics now improved to 12-4 with their opponents' nights starting 5 healthy and playing after tonight's win. So then we are 12-4 after the with the starting 5: Amir Johnson, Jay Crowder, Thomas Bradley, and Al Horford healthy and playing. So does it mean, Danny, that we are on the right track? I found information 12-4 with the starting lineup healthy and playing.
Yeah, it does prove we're on the right track. Because like you said, 16 games in total for these guys together, which, in total, when you look at how many games they've played all together this season, this Celtics team, that isn't the entire amount overall. this Celtics team, if they would have had that entire lineup the whole season, who knows where they would be right now. They could probably be right up there in second place, maybe closer to the Cavaliers if they would have had everybody ready and available, But they've been close to beating some of these teams, and who knows, if they would have had everybody available, they would have had a little bit more, how would you say, they would have been a little bit more used to each other, and they probably would have been a little bit more capable of beating some of these top teams. Every game they've played against some of these teams that are having the superstars like Westbrook, LeBron, they've all been right there at the very end, but just couldn't pull it off at the very end. So they've played some of these games really close, but just couldn't pull it away at the very end. I would say technically that if they would have had, all these guys available, we probably could have pulled some of these games away, pulled some of these games out at the very end if we would have had them available the entire season. But we just haven't had them available all season. But we're heading the right direction, and anybody that wants to say get rid of Thomas or get rid of Horford after today's game and after this last stretch is truly somebody that's got to get off the Celtics bandwagon and go root for another team.
And like you said, I think that we are on the right track, and I think that this record 12-4, and don't forget, Danny, that we didn't have easy schedule in the months of November and December. Is that right? I think I don't have information. We have top 5 or top 6, the toughest schedule in November and December. Am I correct, Danny?
Yep, we had a lot of road games to start the season, which is why they say that, I said that it's going to get a lot more easier to start once we get to the January and February, because a lot of the Celtics games in those 2 months are going to be at home. So the Celtics, of course, they have said it, to start the season, the Celtics have done better on the road than they've done at TD Garden, which is a pretty strange thing to say. That's really a strange thing. Teams usually do better at home than on the road. But if the Celtics can fix their woes at home, they just might go the route of picking up some really big wins and start making some really big streaks here. They have now the longest winning streak overall this season is now sitting at 4 technically, because they've had that twice after they won against the Hornets, the Heat, the Grizzlies, and the Pacers before losing to the Thunder earlier this week. So the Celtics are going to start having it a lot more easier. But the Celtics schedule, and that's one thing we can thank the NBA for. You put the Celtics team with a tough schedule compared to some of the super teams. A lot of those super teams had a big major home schedule to start the season, and then we just had to suffer so many injuries to all our superstar teams. Now those teams are going to start having to play a lot on the road compared to us. So now is the time to take advantage.
Well said, Danny. And like you said, we just hope that the injuries will not happen anymore in the Celtics land, and we just hope that this starting unit will stay healthy and playing. I still think that I still think that Amir Johnson should be benched because I have some information from the. I think that I will find it on my material, Danny. Yeah, or maybe not. Anyway, this is J King's tweet about information that the unit with the unit with Kelly Olynyk and the rest of the starters. Kelly Olynyk in place. Kelly Olynyk in place of Amir Johnson. That unit is the best Celtics unit, if I correctly understood the J. King. That unit with Kelly Olynyk and the rest of the starters in the place of Amir Johnson, I repeat, are outscoring the opponents, and we are like 40.9 points better per 100 possessions than opponents. And again, I'm trying to find the tweet because I don't want I don't want to give our listeners any bad information. Anyway, again, they are talking about starting Jonas Jerebko, but you must look at the numbers, Danny. We are not getting anything from starting Jonas Jerebko in place of Johnson. I mean, I can give Johnson credit against the Thunder. He was great and huge, and the last couple of games he really started boxing out. And tonight he back to the old and bad Amir Johnson mode, not boxing out. In the first half, I think that we lost almost every 50% balls, and I was furious because the Knicks were having the second and the third attacks because the guys are not boxing out. Matt Rory, our guest at the show, 150 Seconds, was talking on the show that the guys should box out better. It doesn't matter if you are smaller than your opponent. If you're boxing out properly, you will have the opportunity to win every single game. And again, I must just laugh, Danny, because Russell Westbrook comments screaming in the tunnel, thanks Kyrie Irving. It seems that he is not in love for Golden State Warriors, and this is really amusing, then, you know. And let's anyway to finish with this segment that I have been talking about. I think that this unit is 12-4, and I don't think that Brad Stevens will change it. If you start Olynyk, I think that you will maximize that unit. But Olynyk is the key guy from the bench alongside Marcus Smart. And right now, I talked with Bobby. He is for staying right now with this unit because the second unit need scoring. I don't care who is starting. I care who is finishing the games and how much this unit with Olynyk is playing. Because if this unit is the best Celtics unit, I want this unit to be maximized, and I want this unit to be as much as it is possible on the court. Let Amir Johnson start. I really don't care in the first quarter, but let Olynyk finishes the game because he deserves it. What is your take on this matter, Danny?
I agree with you. You know, one thing we've been seeing as of late has been Brad Stevens giving Jonas Jerebko a lot of minutes and going small. him having Al Horford as the center, Jonas Jerebko playing the power forward, and going with 3 guards, or going with 2 guards and Jay Crowder as the small forward, and then 2 guards. And that lineup I don't like, because you're really having to rely on Al Horford to do all the work down low, and you're relying on everybody else to crash the boards and make it a group effort to get the rebounds. You know, one thing about Amir Johnson is that he's someone that really stays in the paint and focuses on the rebounding. You know, that's one reason why, you know, Al Horford has says that he likes playing for the Celtics and likes Amir Johnson being here, because playing in Atlanta, Paul Millsap was the power forward and Al Horford was the center. So he was forced to play in the paint while Millsap had the freedom to play on the outside. Here, it's the other way around, with Amir Johnson being the one to play in the paint. So Amir Johnson is the one looking for the rebounds while Al Horford plays the outside, which has given him more of the game he likes. Kelly Olynyk, one of the issues with him is the fact that he doesn't have the body. You don't really see him get physical. If I was Brad Stevens, I would look to get, you know, Olynyk to buff up a bit, because he's too soft. You don't really see him fighting enough for the rebounds. You know, we saw in the game, I think it was against the Thunder, where he just stood standing there as the rebound went up in the air and came down. One of the Thunder players came away with it, and Horford tried to go after the ball, and, you know, the guy got a layup, and Horford looked at Olynyk, and not to go off on Olynyk, Horford went and said that was my bad. You know, I'm saying to myself, you know, yeah, it's your bad, Horford, but come on. Olynyk was right there, and he could have easily done something to get that rebound as well. You know, that's one reason why technically towards the end of the game I would prefer Olynyk, because he's someone that can help spread the floor instead of you going small with Jonas Jerebko, unless it's a situation where the other team is going small. So that situation you put Jerebko in, because Olynyk, one of the issues is that he is prone to turnovers. He's not somebody that's capable of dribbling the ball a lot. You know, today he basically got away with it because the Knicks, like I said, are a bad defensive team. You know, he took advantage of Porzingis and Noah's, you know, bad defensive play. He was getting a lot of easy layups down low. But do that against some of these better defensive teams, and Olynyk isn't going to get away with it. So you need someone like Amir Johnson down there, which is why I would say Jonas Jerebko would be a little bit better, because Jonas Jerebko in that situation is a little bit more agile, and he'll be a little bit more smarter with the ball. But I agree with you. Amir Johnson to start the game is what I would do, but only for a certain period, and then you get Olynyk in there to try and help get the lead to go up even further. You know, but right now, Amir Johnson, what we've seen the last few games, he had a big game against the Thunder to start the game. He was really getting the lead to go up because they were getting the ball to him inside. You know, the Thunder were more worried about Horford, and Horford kept getting the ball to Amir down low. He kept getting a bunch of easy layups and dunks, but you could do the same thing with Olynyk if he's the one in there instead of Amir Johnson. And like I said, the thing is that Olynyk is much more agile than Amir Johnson.
Yeah, and I found information that I have been searching for. Over the 35 minutes entering tonight, Danny, Olynyk plus the starters group had outscored opponents by 40.6 points per 100 possession. I repeat, Olynyk in place of Johnson with starters group had outscored opponents by 40.6 points per 100 possession. It's not bad, right? Because this is the best unit, and that is your closing group. You know, this is the group that is outscoring opponents. This group is having the best offense, the best offensive rating. And simply, Danny, you must close this unit, right? I mean, this is not the philosophy here. You have advanced statistics right now, and Brad Stevens and his staff are having advanced statistics. You simply compare the units, and you can see, which unit is the best for the closing. By the way, I want to comment, and I forgot, you mentioned something about the Knicks coach, Utah Jazz legend Jeff Hornacek. He put Carmelo the whole fourth quarter, and I took majority of the third. I didn't look at him. Brad Stevens has established playing time for Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas is starting at the end of the first or the beginning of the second. You have Isaiah Thomas subbed by Terry Rozier or Marcus Smart. Then he's closing the second quarter. He's starting the third quarter. Then at the end of third, somewhere between 6th and 7th minutes, he's out. I have objection to Brad Stevens because when he's subbing Isaiah Thomas at the third quarter, he's subbing Al Horford with Isaiah Thomas. Al Horford is going out with Isaiah Thomas. So in this period of time, from 6th, 7th minutes until the end of third quarter, we are left out of superstars. My objection is when you're subbing out Isaiah Thomas, leave Al Horford. And this is the period when majority of the teams are making the run in the third quarter when Isaiah and Horford are both out. Now, usually they are starting the fourth quarter, or Isaiah is still sitting, but I think that usually he's starting the fourth quarter. Then he's subbing him out some point, and when Isaiah Thomas is returning again in the fourth quarter, you have technical timeout, 6 minutes left in the game, and this is the time when Isaiah Thomas is getting back to the game. And my only objection to the Stevens is when you subbing in the third quarter Isaiah Thomas and Al Horford, you must leave Al Horford, one of them, at the court because the offense is suffering. In that time, we usually have in the second unit Marcus Smart or Terry Rozier dribble, taking bad shots or whatever. And Olynyk is shooting a lot in that period, but again, I think that you have to maximize Olynyk and the starting group minutes. Right, Danny?
Yeah, from what I remember in this game today at least, Isaiah Thomas was removed in that third quarter. Like you said, around the 7-minute mark, Al Horford was left in with Avery Bradley, Jay Crowder, Marcus Smart, and Kelly Olynyk. And they ended the quarter before Isaiah Thomas was brought back in to start the fourth. He ended up starting the fourth, and while Crowder, Bradley, and Horford were all sitting. But we have seen over the start of the season that Brad Stevens has done what you have said, and that has been one of the issues that I've mentioned before on our radio show, the rotations. That unfortunately, Bradley, Horford, and Thomas are the ones that we got to worry about because those are the three main guys on the offense. You got to have one of those three guys on the offense at all times because they're the only ones capable of keeping the offense flowing. in particular Horford and Thomas. Today, Rozier didn't get any time to play from what I saw on the box score because Brad Stevens decided to give all the minutes to Gerald Green. So, luckily for Brad Stevens, that didn't backfire because Gerald Green managed to get some big buckets today throughout this game. So, it worked out well for him. But, really, Marcus Smart and Terry Rozier, in my opinion, are better qualified to actually come in and do what Isaiah Thomas does because they're the real point guards.
And let's now look at the game today. Game today was played in 12 p.m. Eastern, Madison Square Garden. New York lead change is 6 times. The teams were tied 6. 2 hours 28 minutes long. Referees Zach Zerba, Kane Fitzgerald, and Marat Kovut. And the first quarter won by Knicks 28-22. The second quarter Celtics 34-20. And at the halftime the Celtics had 8 points. 8 points lead. And the third quarter won by Knicks +2, 32-34. That means that the Celtics entered the fourth 6 points lead, and the fourth quarter is won by Knicks 32-31, and accumulative 5 points win for the Celtics 119-114. Now, team statistics comparisons. Danny, when you look at the field goal percentage, Boston 48.4 percentage, New York Knicks 47.1 percentage, field goal percentage better Boston, 3-pointers 38.9% Boston, 34.8% New York. It means Boston is better again. Rebounding 49-39 New York. This is where the Celtics need the help. Our rebounding is terrible this season. It improved the last couple of games, but this game it was terrible. The leading rebounder was Al Horford, again 7 rebounds. You was talking about rebounds and rebounding, Danny, and the issues. So rebounds +10 for New York. Assists Boston 25-11. Beautiful offensive game by Boston overall and team play. Turnovers, New York 17, Boston 6. Boston is leaving out of the points out of turnovers. Boston is forcing many turnovers. Guards driven team, and our defense that is forcing too many turnovers. We want to run in the transition. We want to score as many easy points out of turnovers that we can. Offensive rebounds, Knicks 18 and Boston 12. Knicks 18 offensive rebounds. They have many. Like I said, second and third attacks. It pissed me off. It was pissing me off during the whole game. We didn't rebound well in this game. 27 points Isaiah Thomas and 29 Anthony. 7 rebounds Horford. Porzingis 12. Porzingis destroyed us in the paint in rebounding. Assist Marcus Smart 7. Rose 3. And steals Bradley 3. And Porzingis 2. When you look at the statistics, Danny, you will see that largest lead of the Boston Celtics were 13 and New York Knicks 6. Fast break points, Boston Celtics 7, New York Knicks 6. That means that we won fast break points battle. Points in the paint, Boston 54, Knicks 50. So we won fast break points battle, points in the paint battle. Also, we won bench points battle, 41 points bench Boston, and the Knicks 19 points. So the difference is 22 points for the Boston bench. And finally, in this group statistics short informations, second chance point for Boston, I think 8, and 17 for Knicks. Why? Because the Knicks have had 49 rebounds and the Celtics 10 rebounds less. So the Knicks won only in second chance points, and the Celtics won in the fast break points, points in the paint, bench points, points out of turnovers. When you look at the player statistics, Boston starters, Jay Crowder, great game, 16 points, +2 plus-minus factor, 34 points, 5 of 9 field goal, 56%, for 3 of 6, 50%. He was really important with threes in the second quarter, and he had 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 turnover. Amir Johnson, 24 minutes, 9 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, good game, +8, 3 of 6 field goal percent, 50%, and 75%, 3 of 4 for 1. Al Horford, 35 minutes, 7 of 13 field goal percent, 53.8, 54% field goal, excellent for 3, 1 of 3, 33%, 7 rebounds, 15 points, 5 assists, monster performance, and the game-winning block for Al Horford again, +5, our rim protector, our big addition, and the difference maker. Avery Bradley, 32 points, 32 minutes, 11 points, 5 of 12 field goal percent, 42% field goal, 101 for 3, 6 rebounds, huge, 2 assists, -6 with him. Isaiah Thomas, 32 minutes, 36 seconds, 9 of 23 field goal, 39% field goal, not efficient, but still 27 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, and 2 turnovers, -7 with him. The bench, Jerebko, 12 minutes, 36, and only 2 points and 2 rebounds. Marcus Smart, huge performance, 28 minutes, 26, 15 points, and 7 assists and 2 rebounds. Jaylen Brown without points and 2 rebounds. Kelly Olynyk, 23 minutes, 28, excellent game, 16 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 turnover, with him -6. And Gerald Green, great game, 12 minutes, 3 of 6 field goal, 50%, 2 of 3 for 3. Very efficient, 4 rebounds and 8 points, +16 with Gerald Green. One of the best performances thus far. So, Danny, what is your take on the statistic breakdown of this game?
The Celtics in this game, were really impressive. The Celtics, in the last time they played the Knicks, many people didn't take it as a legit win because of the fact that Carmelo Anthony got himself kicked out of the game with getting 2 technicals, so he got himself ejected due to that. Today's game, there was no excuses in this game, knowing that the game was in New York instead of being in Boston, and Carmelo Anthony got to play the entire game this time around, so that's no longer an excuse that could be used either. Isaiah Thomas came up with a pretty big game, 27 points as you said, 9 of 23, and he only shot 3 of 13 from downtown. The Celtics started off cold from the 3-point area before they finally ended up heating up. Unfortunately, towards the very end of the game, they had, it appeared they had the game in the bag before they finally ended up nearly coughing it away because they fell in love with the 3-pointers instead of actually attacking the rim and trying to ice it at the free throw line. That allowed Carmelo Anthony and Porzingis to get a couple of shots to tie the game, and with about less than a minute left, or around a minute left, which made it where Marcus Smart had to hit a wide open three-pointer in order to actually get the lead back up to 3 with about, I think it was 40-something seconds left in the game. The Celtics, in my opinion, got to remember that, when you got a team in the penalty like you had tonight, or in this case today because it was an early game, and you got about a minute left, that's the time to attack the rim and try to get a layup or something easy. Don't be trying to win it from the three-point line just because of the fact you've been hitting three-pointers all game in this situation. You've been hitting three-pointers already throughout the game, but you've got the team in the penalty. You attack and you try to force the officials, to blow the whistle and get something easy to try and put the game away. Crowder was big tonight. He's been kind of up and down the last few games. Today he had 16 points with 3 from 6 from downtown, and those 3 shots were one right after the other, technically, back to back to back, and that kind of pushed the lead all the way back up to double figures, and that kind of changed the momentum of the game. So if I gotta say, outside of Isaiah Thomas, the one who gets the Tommy Award, as Tommy Heinsohn would say, it's Jay Crowder.
Okay. The player of the game, Celtics improved to 12-4 with their opening night starting 5 after today's win. Player of the game is Marcus Smart, 15 points, field goal percent 5 of 9, 7 assists, 2 of 4 field goal percentage 2 of 4. That's Marcus Smart. And the Celtics scored a lot, almost collapsed, and got a huge Marcus Smart 3 Ivan Bradley steal at the end. The recap of the game: Marcus Smart's 3-pointer saves Boston Celtics 119-114 with the win against New York Knicks. And then we must remind our viewers and listeners that last year we won the season series 3-1 against the Knicks, including 2 great wins in the Madison Square Garden, and so it means that we own the Knicks again. If I'm correct, 2-0 again this season against the Knicks. The Boston Celtics talked a lot this week about excitement playing in the Christmas Day. With so many eyeballs watching across the country, they didn't need to make things interesting though. After holding comfortable lead of the most of the second half, the Celtics needed Marcus Smart 3-pointer in the final minute to break a tie and huge steal for Ivory Bradley to keep his team ahead. They held on the top of the New York Knicks 119-114, but not before letting Carmelo Anthony and Kristaps Porzingis to provide one heck of a scare. After Boston Celtics led by 9 with 3 minutes left, Anthony and Porzingis hit back-to-back 3-pointers, then layup each to erase the entire advantage. The result in dramatic final minutes that include Smart's go-ahead switch, and after shoot fell through the hoop, Bradley stripped Anthony on the perimeter to eliminate New York Knicks' chance to pull with 1. Al Horford added a block in the final seconds to preserve 4 points lead and the silence in the New York Knicks crowd. The Celtics dealt with dangerous Derrick Rose, and he unleashed some 2011 crossovers and long third quarter stretch with Anthony could not miss. Porzingis did some unicorn things too, but Boston just wouldn't stop scoring for the most of the game. Smart, 15.7 assists, facilitated a lot of offense. Isaiah Thomas has quiet night, 27 points, and the frontcourt duo Horford 15.7 rebounds, 5 assists, and Kelly Olynyk 16.7 of 9 shooting. Excellent game. Took turns puncturing the defense. A huge second quarter. One thing that worked in the second quarter, Smart's post-ups. He hits a one that worked in the second quarter. Smart's post-ups. He hits a smooth jumper over Justin Holiday, then drew enough attention to free Isaiah Thomas on 2 straight possessions. the Celtics don't stop running too much. The Celtics don't run too much offense through Smart on the low block post-ups, but the frequently delivers from the spot, like Celtics posting up Marcus Smart a bunch. They score elite 1.4 points per possession on Smart's post-ups. Shoot or pass per synergy data. So 1.4 points per possession on Smart's post-ups, which is great. Another thing that worked, Jay Crowder knocking down the three-pointer back to back in the span of 54 seconds, bringing the Celtics from points down to 42-37 lead. And then it was the swinging momentum of the game. The Knicks never took the lead again. They tied the game in the fourth. Minute later, the Smart lost his dribble during the post-up, but dragged down the ball near the arc and turned around, fired the three-pointer that somehow dropped through the net. In the words of Larry Bird, Merry Christmas. And during a monster second quarter, the Celtics went on 7 total three-pointers and outscored the Knicks 34-20. Boston even dominated on the glass, racking up 6 offensive rebounds in the 13 misses during the period after an opening 12 minutes in which both teams seems to be struggling with non-tip off. I personally enjoyed in early air ball showdown. The Celtics emerged with a crisp ball movement and delightful shot making. Notably, Terry Rozier didn't step out of the bench, even rough shooting month for him. It was the first time in the season rotation didn't include Terry Rozier. Smart, Crowder, Horford were all great in the first half though. And Al Horford dunks on the posterized Kristaps Porzingis. This was the highlight of the match. And a brief while after the dunk, Horford got screamingly mad after receiving a double technical foul. A replay showed Horford laughing while Carmelo Anthony got into his face, but the referee decided Horford's reaction was worth technical, not Carmelo's, but this is superstar call. The third quarter turned into carnival of offense. The Celtics shot it 15 out of 23 in the quarter, 65%, but still lost 2 points of their lead in the third, mostly because A, Anthony emerged as isolational monster after slow start, and B, other Knicks, including Courtney Lee, dropped some outside shoots, and Courtney Lee was leading into in 3-point field goal percent in the NBA with 46.7% coming into this game. Other Knicks, including Lee, stepped into the third quarter, dropped some shoots, and C, New York Knicks dominated the glass, grabbing offensive rebounds, and torched us on 7 out of 14 missed grabbed 7 offensive rebounds in the third. It should be noted that Olynyk scored 10 points on 5 of 5 shooting perfect during the third, and he subbed in Amir Johnson 2 minutes into the second, giving the Celtics floor spacing skill bunched. That is what I'm saying, Danny, that Olynyk should start. Close the game, and that unit should maximize their efficiency and minutes. Over 35 minutes before Sunday, like I said, Olynyk plus starters lineup had outscored opponents by 40.6% per 100 possession in less than impressive fashion. That group was on the court when the teams turned late in the game, and the Celtics held on. So what is your take? You can take your time and break down the game.
Well, when it comes to the rebounding issues that you mentioned, it's all about the lineups, like I said. We saw Brad Stevens go with a 3 big man lineup where it was only, Amir Johnson, Al Horford, and Kelly Olynyk. Jonas Jerebko was forced to play the power forward position off the bench. And against the Knicks, who have O'Quinn along with Porzingis and Joakim Noah, those 3 guys are basically 3 7-footers. that really isn't going to work in this. It's not going to basically help. The Celtics lineup is not going to work against those guys. So I wasn't expecting the Celtics to win the rebounding battle unless you were somehow able to overpower those 3 7-footers and push them out of the paint in order for your guards to basically grab the rebounds while those guys were pushed out. So the rebounding issue, I'm not, so upset about. They out-rebounded us by 10. So, at least it wasn't by a really big margin. But the big area there that you mentioned when it comes to the stats and all that was the assist. The assist, basically, you see the assist for the Knicks. That shows you that team, despite the fact that they've improved their roster, it's still a one-on-one, let me shoot over you type team. Even though they've gotten, Derrick Rose now on that team, they got several other players, it's still a team where Carmelo Anthony takes the ball, he'll go one-on-one against Jay Crowder, one-on-one against Avery Bradley, and let me shoot a 3 over you. Let me shoot a jumper over you. Let me take you on the dribble and attack the rim. Forget the dribbling around you, which is why the Celtics will continue to beat these guys every time they play, because the Celtics always look for the open man and manage to get the pass needed for the ball to go in. And that was what led to them getting the lead they had in this game. So the Celtics basically playing the team ball allowed them to take advantage of the weak defense that the Knicks had. Kelly Olynyk took advantage of it, and Marcus Smart got deserved player of the game, but if he wasn't going to get it, then Kelly Olynyk deserved it next, because during that period that Isaiah Thomas was sitting in that third quarter towards the end, Kelly Olynyk was the one that kept scoring basket after basket against Porzingis and Noah to keep that lead where it was until the quarter was over. So that's, another situation here. So this Celtics team, today in that game really took it to this Knicks team. And like I said, Horford being called for a technical foul on that play was really ridiculous. That was just a Knicks, should I say, an officiating crew, basically saying Carmelo Anthony's a superstar. One of the guys you see on commercials and all that. We can't afford for him to be called for a technical foul here on the Knicks home court and not call something against Horford, because if it is, the fans are going to turn on us. Let it be in Boston and it's a totally different story. Carmelo gets the only technical in that situation because Carmelo shoved Horford not once, not twice, but 3 times on that play before they finally called a foul. Horford didn't get in Carmelo's face and start yapping at him. Horford actually smiled and did say something, but didn't say it right in his face. And then yet you're going to call a technical for that? Carmelo Anthony's the one doing the physicality, and yet Horford's going to get the technical? It just shows, like I said, Igor, more superstar treatment.
Yep. Okay, and we have the keys of the game from the last game, and we have 2 nice articles, and we're going to wrap up this Knicks game recap slowly. The key momentum. Marcus Smart and Avery Bradley came down in the clutch as Boston Celtics down the Knicks for Christmas Day victory. The key momentum, one play was expected, the other not so much. Boston Celtics needed 2 clutch plays to come out of the win on the Christmas Day. The first come offensive end, most unlikely, with the game tied 112, less than a minute remain when the Knicks tied and erased the Celtics lead 8 straight points, 8-0. Knicks, the Celtics needed bucket. At the first they looked down to Isaiah Thomas, tried to make a move on the perimeter, but unable to come up with a clean look in the basket. Now they turn to Al Horford, who posted up, but also unable to get a clean look to the hoop. But Horford made his move towards the center of the paint, and he saw the passing line out the left wing, where Marcus Smart was standing and unguarded beyond the 3 points arc. Horford, unselfish player, tossed the pass to Smart, who entered the game shooting 27% for three. But despite that percentage, Smart got the ball and released a three without no hesitation and splashed it through the net with 40 seconds left on the clock. And the Celtics had 3 points lead. Boston still needed another play to secure the win, and they got it in the next possession from all defensive first team performer Avery Bradley defended Carmelo Anthony on the right sidelines, and Anthony attempted isolational play. Bradley, 6'2" foot step guard, stepped up to the challenge against 6'8" Anthony. Bradley swept in and knocked the ball away to Anthony, allowing Jay Crowder to snatch it to the baseline. And that still completed Boston Celtics Christmas Day victory, just seconds after Smart began the process of wrapping the things up. Now the Celtics have won 5 of their last 6 games in the nights, and this is getting the home stretch at the beginning of the 2016 game. Then keys of the game, 2 plays, Marcus Smart 3 and Avery Bradley clutch defense. What can you say?
Well, we all know, again, like you mentioned, Marcus Smart is someone that has proven that he is capable of hitting three-pointers, but to hit it in that type of situation is really showing how far this kid has come when it comes to his game and being able to prove that he is really one of the veterans on this team. When you look at how young this team is, being able to basically be out there on the final play, you get the ball sent to you, and you manage to hit a three like that with the clock about to go out, shortly, less than a minute, and the game's on the line. If you miss it, odds are it's going to be the Knicks who win the game because they're going to get the ball. Carmelo Anthony is going to be the one shooting, or Derrick Rose. It's going to be a major situation. But the Celtics really managed to get a big time shot from Marcus Smart on that, and then Avery Bradley, he's done that to many people, unfortunately, for those players. He's done it to Carmelo today. He's done it to Dwayne Wade. He's done it to LeBron at times. He's done it to Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson. All those guys have felt Avery Bradley's wrath since he's entered the league, and that's one of the reasons why he's earned the right to be a starter. Even when we had, Ray Allen and the rest of those guys here, he was given the right to play, at times with those guys in the starting lineup, so this guy, truly, he is the captain of this team, despite the fact that Isaiah Thomas is the best player. And Avery Bradley doing it like that is one reason why you always got to have him on the top player from the other team if the top player is a guard. If Avery Bradley was able to beef himself up when it comes to his body, he would be the one you have guarding, LeBron James. Because LeBron James, we can all say he's a lot more heavier and a lot more bigger than Carmelo. So Avery Bradley's got to get a little bit more bigger to guard LeBron. But if it wasn't for that, Avery Bradley would be able to guard LeBron, and basically, you need him to be way more bigger in order to guard, Dwight Howard and the rest of those boys. But Avery Bradley is arguably the best defender in this league, and there's no doubt about that, and that's why he keeps getting the, recollection he gets when it comes to the first team NBA and all. And, if there, the awards that keep getting given out, for the best player defensively, it's not going to be long before he gets those awards to go to him.
The next case is maximum salaries. Maximum salaries, what has been reported, will be increasing due to the change in the way they are calculating. The tiers will be described as 25%, 30%, 35%, the tiers of the salary cap, but not they actually will match to those descriptions. The year experience tiers will not be changing. from 0 to 6, 7 to 9, and 10 plus. So what does it mean? Listen to this. Salary cap, 103 from 2017-18. Years of experience, 0 to 6 years experience. The first year, 24.58. New CBA will have 25.75. The difference is 1.116. And 7 to 9 year experience, the first year is 29.5. And new CBA, 30 millions point 9. 1.4 the difference in the new CBA, higher. 10 plus year of experience, 34.4, and it will be 36. 1.6 millions difference. The change is good simply for ease of understanding, because 25%, 30%, or 35% of the cap is simpler than the max being the cap. The change is a bit of a stealth way to the best players get more. It's hard to argue that the best players don't deserve more in relation to their court value, but more to the top to the bottom. More than in a minute means less to the upper middle class or long-serving non-max veterans. It's interesting that when the mid-tier players was head of the new cap, now personally I think the change is good one that won't make the huge difference, but does more accurately reflect the value. Increased max makes it harder to put together a super team via free agency. When LeBron James and Chris Bosh joined Dwayne Wade in Miami, first they had to agree to each other to slide before keeping leverage to forced Cleveland Toronto to play along in sign and trades. If the maxes had been before the true 30% figure, the teams may not even have quite come together. Those teams, like Miami, may not even come together. Do you understand me? Now, the Celtics outlook. If Boston is hoping to lure someone like Blake Griffin or Gordon Hayward via free agency, a higher max salary is bad. The team has ways to clear enough cap space to sign maximum players, but it does involve sacrificing, and every million you add to the max is another million that would need to be cut. That way going to be seized even under old assumption, but sign a full 35% max free agent. The Celtics would almost certainly have to more pieces to move more pieces the most fans see part of their core. The flip side is being harder to clear max cap space is that existing bargain contracts become even more a deal. Al Horford will make at least $3 million less than maximum salary for the 7-9 veterans next season. Isaiah Thomas, Crowder, Bradley triumvirate will become even more woeful, underpaid. And if Crowder plays out entire contract, he could be making somehow like 25 million less than players similar experience maximum. Ultimately, that shift isn't good news for the Boston, but it could have been worse. A change to experienced tiers or large increase in salary basis percentage could functionally close the door of signing a non-superstar max free agents like Gordon Hayward. So it is harder now, but not impossible to sign the free agents and superstars. Danny, your take on that?
Well, like it said, because now the free agents are going to be looking for more money. That's what the statement is all about here. You know, that's really what it's all about. A lot of these players are looking for maximum dollars You know, they're not like players like a Tom Brady who has sacrificed money because he wants to stay here in New England, but wants his team to be able to win each and every year at the same time. Unfortunately, Danny Ainge's best chance, the way it's looking, is to get this team what they need, is to do it through trade. And his best assets right now are the Brooklyn draft picks, which is why, in my opinion, the only way he's going to get it done is the only way we're going to see it is if it happens before the trade deadline in a couple months. But Danny Ainge, we all know, has been known to get a little bit stingy, you know, when it comes to the trades, and doesn't want to do it unless he's really suckering the other team. You know, so we really got to be careful, but it's unfortunate because the way things were going, it looked like everything was going well, because if things would have stood the way they were, or if it would have gone to a hard cap, things would have been a lot more better for the Celtics because of the way some of the contracts were going to be getting set up. But because of the fact that they've gone that route and the money's just going to go up even higher, not only are they going to have to outbid many other teams, which means the money for these players is going to go right up, and they're going to be demanding top dollar, which is why the Celtics aren't going to be able to get a lot of these players. But it's going to make it where a lot of their teams are going to be able to keep them, which is why you're not going to see many superstars leaving their teams as it is. So things are going to stay practically the same.
Yes. So in other words, Danny, it will be harder to make the superstar teams. It will be harder. Maybe it's because of the Durant, some changes. The teams will have the options that I'm mentioning, and it will be harder to make the trade, to perform the trades, and to the free agents to move from one team's to another. I mean, it will be harder because the original teams will have the tool to keep their stars 10 years until draft in the prime, okay? And of course, it will be possible for agents to come, but the amount of money they will be forced to give up in that case is large. For example, the third year of 32 millions of more. I'm not saying that it is decisive, but this is important tool for keeping the free agents to the original teams, right?
Exactly, because one thing we can say is right now it's a two-team league pretty much. Yeah, we got 30 teams, but it's really a two-team competition. Who wins?
Yeah.
Golden State or Cleveland? At least right now we know you're not going to see a player like Blake Griffin going to Golden State or Cleveland thanks to this whole thing unless it's through a trade. So that's the only benefit about this salary cap. Again, a hard cap would have done way better, but at least that's the only benefit. That you're not going to see. It's going to make it where those teams are not going to get the job done unless they make a trade. But really, what is Golden State or Cleveland going to have available that a lot of those other teams are going to want in exchange or accept in exchange for their superstars to go play with the superstars on their teams, knowing that those are the teams you're trying to get out of the NBA Finals as it is. You're not going to trade the superstars you got to the teams you're already despising because they keep getting to go every year, So the commissioner, you're already on the right direction. You just got to go all the way in. You've got the door cracked open. You got 1 foot in. You got to get the second foot in.
Excellent stuff, Danny. We are trying to hurry up. Existing salary cap exception will increase by 45% over the previous schedules for the next season. 2007-18 exception values. Mid-level exception, it will be 8.4 million. By the way, I forgot, the Celtics could use mid-level exception 8.4 millions to offer to the Kelly Olynyk. But the trick here, Danny, is that only the teams over the cap could use the mid-level exception. So, you can go over the cap and use the mid-level exception over the cap 103 millions and use mid-level exception 8.4 millions and sign Kelly Olynyk and give him that mid-level exception. Or if you go under the cap and renounce the rights, like I said, renounce the rights, you don't have mid-level exception anymore. And you must pay, and it will take amount of your free cap space, 32 millions. And now, if you want to resign Kelly Olynyk, if you renounce the rights, wait for another free agent, and if you waited enough, you will have to use your free cap space to re-sign Kelly Olynyk. And it will take from 32 millions, your free cap space will decrease to 24, 23. Do you understand me, dear viewers and Danny? I mean, this is the catch. And existing cap space, the mid-level exception, 8.4. Tax players mid-level exception is 5.2. Room exception 4.3. B annual exception 3.3. Now, those exceptions will be moved in contracts with the salary cap maintaining a set percentage. The incomplete roster change will continue to be based on 12-player maximum. Players scheduled to make less than league minimum will have their contracts amended in the minimum and will carry the cap change for their revisit salary. Celtics outlook. In general, I think the Celtics benefit from this kind of double engaged sword, mid-level exception, B annual exception. The better run franchises are less likely to mess up with them, and in zero-sum would like a sport league in the benefit. If the team finds itself impossible to sign 30% maximum free agent this summer, the higher minimum contracts used to fill out incomplete roster holes will cost them some cap space. And probably Jordan Mickey, Demetrio Jackson, whatever. The fillers. With the current roster, it looks like it won't be too much problem, but it's close and it could change if the salary cap is lower than 103 and the teams will be forced to make additional moves. So what do you think about exceptions, Danny? Mid-level, 8.4, taxpayers, mid-level exception, 5.2, room exception, 4.3, biannual exception, 3.3, as reported.
Well, again, one thing that's come in handy with those things over the years, and Danny Ainge has taken advantage of it, is the fact that you can spread those things out over several players, giving parts of the money to several players, because you don't have to use the whole thing on just one player. So 8.4, for example, of the mid-level, you can give one player 4.2 and give another one 4.2 to total out the 8.4. But like I said, that's where technically, where you mentioned earlier, the situation of having to be over the luxury tax and over the salary cap in order to use it, that's where talking with Kelly Olynyk and telling him, you can go ahead and talk with the other teams first before we make a decision. We'll try to talk with our free agent that we want, our major star, and see if they're willing to come and sign with us first. Because remember, all contracts cannot be official until the beginning of July. So even if Olynyk gets a team to say, yes, we're willing to sign you for this amount, they can easily back out on the deal before July 1st. So they could tell him, go ahead, you talk with the teams, we'll talk with our guy, and if our guy signs on the dotted line July 1st, we'll bring you over here for that 8.4, which for all he knows could be just around the same amount or worth even more than what other teams are willing to give him for 1 year. And who knows, he could come back for 1 year and maybe even get his, stats to increase next year and be worth even more next summer when the salary cap might just even rise even more next year. So he's better off going that route. But the money, everything's going to rise up. And Danny Ainge is smart enough to know you can use those, exceptions on several players and not have to keep going up with the salary cap money and trying to give everybody money to go with just regular contracts.
Going to more changes. The rookie scale will increase 50% over the previous schedule. The scale contracts will increase 55% in 2 years, then 30% in year 3, 45% more in year 4. Unsigned non-stash rookie will carry cap room holds of 120% scale, equal to their maximum salary amount. Players signed to rookie scale deals from current CBA will receive raises to the not count against the salary cap. The teams will now have 2 designated player slots to use on the players coming of their rookie scale deals. And the Celtics outlook. There are changes being made in the CBA that will lead the teams increasing the value they place on the picks more reasonably increase. If the team does go to the draft and develop pet additionally to the second designated player slot for signing 5 years extension could be important. For example, Jaylen Brown is developing year ahead of Marquise Fultz, and both look great. But Fultz is a bit better. Having 2 available slots will make extension negotiations much easier. Early reports seems indication of the rookie scale contracts will increase 45%, which could have created the incentive for the Celtics to try to bring Ante Žižić or Yabusele, and that seems less likely to the NBA this January. That would have opened some additional cap space for the team next season, while getting Žižić off the cap space race to the free agency a year earlier than if he won't wait. This, though, seemed validated by decision of the team made in how to handle the 2 rookies over the summer. The most recent reports, and that rookie scale is increasing 50%. And even with that added 20%, that will be counted in the future rookie holds. Signing Žižić this year would only save us $200,000 of the next season's cap figures. It means that Žižić and Yabusele will stay a year more there then, right?
Yeah, and the good thing is, like you said, none of the rookies are going to get a bad deal out of this. The money's going to go up for all of them, including the ones who are already here. But I truly hope that Danny Ainge is not going to be worrying about this thing, because we don't need any more rookies on this team.
Yeah. And the next thing is designated veteran exception. New 5 years contract starting the 35 max will be created for qualifying offer designed by their teams. To qualify for designated veteran players, the players must be signing extension or re-signing with the team they drafted them or traded for their rookie contracts, be entering their 8th and 9th season for the extension or 9th and 10th season for the re-signing. They must be MVP in the past 3 seasons or have All NBA star or Defensive Player of the Year in the prior seasons or 2 in the past 3 seasons. If signing extension, be 3 years past the signing of the contracts. Free agents re-signing do not have this restriction. A team can only have 2 players signed using designated exception in the current roster. Designated contracts can only be signed until during the off-season. A player signed using designated veteran player cannot be traded for 1 year. A speculate rule is the place to allow the players like Russell Westbrook and James Harden to waive their player option and sign designated veteran player exceptions. The Celtics outlook. None of the current Celtics will be designated veteran exception eligible. Maybe even Isaiah Thomas and Al Horford come to Boston after their rookie deals. Avery Bradley, Jay Crowder are likely to even make All-NBA or Defensive Player of the Year. There might be some slim chance to Marcus Smart stays in Boston long term and be All-NBA 2021. But you would have to get awfully long odds to get that deal. If the Celtics ever take advantage of that designated veteran exception in 6 years for the CBA, I would bet it will be some trades of the new player. The issue the Celtics see is that that exception, it means to keep the stars with the current teams. And the Celtics desperately want to pull a star away. DeMarcus Cousins has been much discussed trade, but he may want to stay in Sacramento now and sign to designated veteran exception. If Blake Griffin makes All-NBA team, his long-term stays in Clippers, and it is the chances of Boston's to sign him are disappeared. Meanwhile, we can look at a player like Paul George and be in odds position to desperately wanting to acquire a player who don't want to make All-NBA. Basically, we are hoping to able to sign someone who admit isn't top 6 forward in league where titles usually go to top 5 overall players. In creating the designated veteran exception, the league is trying to help the team to draft and develop, but current rookies won't be eligible for designated veteran exception status until after this CBA has come and go. It may be that this rule leaves for future agreement, but there is no guarantee of that. So what is your take on designated veteran exception rule, Danny?
Well, the bad thing about that is, you got to basically get some sort of awards and, make it to some sort of, special teams in order to actually be eligible for that, which in my opinion is absolutely ridiculous. There are players, in this league that basically have the right and are worthy of being on those teams and don't get the right to be on them because, again, it's a superstar-driven league and guys like LeBron and them get on it all the time because the guys who are the faces of the league automatically get the nod each and every year. So those guys are going to get it every year and automatically get to return to their teams because the teams will automatically use it. So it's unfortunate, and I wonder if this might just lead to some teams having friction with some of their superstars, because if that leads to some of these teams using it on the superstars and the superstars want to go, what ends up happening then?
Yeah, and another rule is traditional veteran extensions. Non-designated veteran extensions can now be for 4 additional seasons instead of 3. Extensions can now be signed 2 years after signing of 3 or of 4 years deal instead of 3 years. Extensions can be signed 2 years after the signing of 3 or 4 years deal. Non-designated veteran extensions can now have first year salary up to 120% of the salary in the final year of their existing contract. What is the Celtics' outlook to this with designated veteran exception rules? Likely to take some potential star targets of the market. The limited increases in traditional exceptions means some all-star caliber players must still be out there. I've highlighted Paul George already, but it looks unlikely that Blake will qualify for designated veteran exception, and Gordon Hayward is not eligible, though he could be up to sign 1+1 with their current team and try to qualify to 2018. In that case, to set signing and trade targets, the Celtics may have been working on are nearly unchanged. It's hard to know what the Kings and Cousins will do, but I'm also not sure how interested Boston are in Boogie. The biggest obstacle these rules put into place is the players like Paul George may really not want to be traded next summer if he isn't eligible for designated veteran extension. He will know that if he can make All-NBA 2017-18, he would be eligible for designated veteran exception re-sign, but only if he is on the Pacers, and he doesn't want to be traded. What's clear is that if the Celtics are doing to continue chasing max contract veterans, the best things they can hope is to sign Griffin, George, Hayward, Wall, or another target they might be considering makes All-NBA. Your take on that, Danny?
Well, when it comes to that situation, one good thing about that is that it'll give certain teams stability, and when it comes to certain players who do want to stay long-term with the teams they're on, like Paul Pierce, for example, is a player that you can say, Kobe Bryant's another, players who don't want to leave teams and want to be there for their entire careers unless the team trades them without their permission, you can say pretty much. Those guys will have the right to be able to show those fans they want to stay by signing those contracts quickly and early without the current contract even being close to expiring, So that's going to come in handy, and for those fans and for those players to know that they have security when it comes to their contracts and won't have to be asked anytime soon.
Okay, and we are finishing off soon, and the draft 2017 would be unchanged, and the change in the draft immediate would be terrible for the Celtics. Under current CBA, the Celtics are hoping to have another high pick in Brooklyn 2018, and if that become a gap year where all the best would be sophomores entering the year before and all the best freshmen aren't eligible, you would end up with a class under Andrea Bargnani goes the first. It's possible that we still will have the gap year, which could impact the Celtics, but it would do the same to everyone else too. If the Celtics decide to break the veteran core and go young, any gap year would be negative. If they consolidate their position and get good, it would be hurt them less than many other teams, unless one of their other future picks, like the one from Memphis, is good and that year. It's simply too hard to project beyond the net peak. So about the draft, the rules for who is eligible for the draft cannot be changed. The league would like to change the draft to two and done, meaning player would have to be 2 years past their high school graduation. The union suggested 0 or 2 system, meaning the player could declare out of the high school, but if not, they would wait until at least 2 years. The league and union plan to continue this discussion beyond the CBA. We hope, Danny, that moratorium year will not be 2018, where we have the important Brooklyn Nets pick, right?
Yeah, well, again, the unfortunate thing there is that you've been doing it like this all this time. Why not leave it the same way as it is? Because right now, you're not only hurting the teams right now, you're also hurting those players, basically. You got many players in high school who play way better than some of these players in college. Why should you ruin their chances of being able to score some big-time cash? You're just going to give the cash to the college players, and look how many of those players don't even work out the moment they step on to the NBA court. They don't do a damn thing for their entire career.
And Danny, the time has come. I mean, we have another article, but it will be saved for the show first. And you know that you know that we have some good stuff exercising, or we will save it better for another chat. That another article, the look from the Celtics standpoint of view. To sum up the story about salary cap. Now, the NBA is trying to conserve the things in NBA. And I don't know about you, Danny. Do you think that the times in NBA are shining right now, and then nothing should be changed? I mean, do you think that the things are doing super in the NBA? So that do you justify the intention of the NBA to conserve the things practically?
Like I said, I give them credit for trying to do something to fix the competition and all that, but still, the new commissioner hasn't fixed the issue with the officiating. We know that's one reason why Miami has won, with LeBron and them there, why they were so dominant. And at the same time, you're not going to change anything when it comes to the superstar teams really dominating until you make it a hard cap. That's the only way you're going to be able to get these really small market teams to be able to get a shot at some of those superstar teams, because that's the only way the big market teams will not be able to have the cash available to sign a bunch of superstars.
Let's just make it clear what hard cap means. It means that if you want to re-sign Stephen Curry, like you said, and you have the three other superstars that want max, they must sacrifice massive pay cut, or the owner must pay massive luxury tax that will be divided among the 16 non-playoff teams.
Well, actually,
is that correct?
No, a hard cap, Igor, is actually that. Let's say the salary cap is $90 million, for example.
Yeah.
That means you can't go over $90 million, period, for no reason. Meaning that, let's say if they all want $20 million apiece, Green, Durant, Curry, and Thompson, you have to give them $20 million, which means that's $80 million between those four. You only have $10 million left, and you got to fill up the rest of the roster. So that's the way it works. So in this case, that's what I'm saying. The only way that's going to happen is that you got to make it a hard cap, because then every team is going to have to make it where their roster is filled up with players either sacrificing their money, or the GMs being able to be really smart with who they sign in order to actually get the whole thing to work. Because you are not going to be able to work this thing out where you get things a little bit more even for the small market teams if you keep giving the big market teams a way to sign these guys. Yeah, you might make it more easier for the other teams to keep their players, but if those players still have a way to basically leave their teams and go somewhere else, it's going to end up happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that we clear it out. I'm thinking still about those salary cap rules. I didn't understand you. Just like NFL or hockey, right? The hard cap. That's what you meant.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, to sum up the things, you have designated player extension 5 years now for original teams, and you have designated rookie extension. The team can have only 2 designated signed players. The rookie scale maximum contract increases salary cap will increase in the next years, and you have many other changes, like Danny, you cannot calculate unguaranteed money as the trade fillers, but you can send original cash money in the trades. It will make trading more difficult to the teams. And to sum up the things, this salary cap will not solve anything. This will conserve the things, and like you said, we will have the two superstar teams. Or if LeBron decided that one day, if he wakes up and if he decided that Cleveland is not warm as Miami, we will have Miami again as the super team. I am just joking, but it is possible. But anyway, this is not solving the superstar team's problems. It is not hard cap. NBA is practically trying to conserve the state, and it will be more difficult for our Celtics to form the super team with this current CBA. But Danny Ainge will have to be creative, to draft better, and we have assets, and I'm sure that Mike Zeren and Danny Ainge will figure out the way to find out this transcendent player, the next maximum guy that we all want, right?
Exactly. He's got the assets he needs, and he'll have the money eventually as well. Main thing is that Danny Ainge has to be willing to overpay. That's the problem. If he's not willing to overpay, we won't get the guy. But that's where, again, Danny Ainge, you got the overpay from somebody else. Now it's our turn to overpay to get the player that we need. You're gonna benefit from it in the long run. Do it and get the man we need. As long as you're not giving up Al Horford, Avery Bradley, or Isaiah Thomas, we're in good shape.
Okay, and for the end of this very long show, but we only scratched the surface. There is so much that we must say, but that's for another show. About the cap, we have another article. And just really quick, for the end of the show, the next 3 games that we will recap on the 1st January on the show, 7 p.m. Eastern, in the new year, 2017, without the guest. Tuesday in TD Garden, Memphis. Then Cleveland Cavaliers in Cleveland, December 29th. And Friday, Miami Heat 2-0 against Miami Heat, 0-1 against Cavs, and 1-2 against Memphis. I'm saying that we can go 2-1 with the loss against the Cleveland. Though I think that we will have the chance to defeat the Cleveland. What do you think?
Well, I agree with you. I expect us to beat Miami. Memphis, I think we've already beaten them, so we're 1-0 against them. You said 1-2, but we should be able to beat them. And
2-1.
No, 1-0 against Memphis because we only played them twice.
Yeah.
So we should beat them to go 2-0. Beat Miami Heat. The Cavaliers are the only one we'll probably lose to, especially knowing it's in Cleveland. But again, the good thing is, like I said, we've got an easy schedule coming up in February, where I think we've only got like 3 or 4 games on the road. The rest of the games are all at home, with only one of the games being against the Toronto Raptors. Everything else is against teams that we should beat. So this Celtics team is in a really good position right now. So even if you lose to the Cavaliers, you're in a pretty good position right now. As long as you stay in that game and lose by a few points, nobody can complain.
Okay, and that would be all. It was long, and I hope that you enjoyed with us. We will continue to talk, Danny and I, about the salary cap, and we will continue to inform you about the salary cap information, right? And we will recap the next 3 games right away, and tune into our pages. We will be in Celtics Fans Forum, Celtics Talk Radio for recapping the games and live play-by-play of the games. Also, Celtics Talk Radio Twitter, Celtics Talk Radio Instagram, and blogtalkradio.com, Celtics Talk Radio, our page. We are Igor and Danny, and we finished all that we wanted to say, and we are wishing you Merry Christmas again, and rest in peace for George Michael. Those are the highlights of tonight. Boston Celtics won, San Antonio Spurs won over Chicago Bulls, Cleveland Cavaliers won over Golden State Warriors, Thunder won also, and those are some results from the Christmas Day. So until January 1st, we are wishing you Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Happy Holidays whenever you are, and all the best from Igor, Danny, and Celtics Talk Radio. Danny?
Yep, so again, everybody, I'm here in the U.S. I'm sure you had a happy Christmas. I know me and my family did. It's unfortunate the passing of George Michael, one of my favorite singers out here, listening to his music. Yep. You know, so I don't know if my family knows about it upstairs. I'll be going to let my parents know about that. But like I said, it was a good show. Hopefully everything worked out perfectly for this, knowing all the work me and Igor had to do with all the wiring and all of that. This is our third try, and hopefully we'll be able to get it to work this time around. But again, it was a good show, and New Year's Day will be up on the radio. And I think maybe for the game against the Toronto Raptors, that'll be the next time we'll be doing the live video.
Okay, this is the end. Have a good night and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.